Right now, somewhere in America, somebody is standing in the garden aisle of a big box store, squinting at a $22 bottle of pest spray, trying to figure out which skull and crossbones warning is the least scary. Meanwhile, the single most useful garden weapon they own is sitting in the back of their kitchen cabinet, costs less than $1, and has been there the whole time. That weapon is baking soda. We're not talking about some new miracle product with a clever logo. Plain old sodium bicarbonate, the same stuff you toss in cookies and use to deodorize the fridge, has been used by gardeners to fight plant disease since the 1930s. In fact, the Environmental Protection Agency officially recognizes sodium bicarbonate as a fungicide, which is a fancy way of saying the government agrees it actually kills certain plant problems dead. Now, I want to be straight with you because that's what this channel is about. Baking soda is not magic. It won't fix everything, and there's a right way and a wrong way to use it. But for a whole list of the most common, most frustrating garden pests and diseases, a few cents of baking soda will outperform products that cost 20 or 30 times as much. So before you spend another $1 at the store, grab that little orange box and let's go through the 15 garden pests and problems baking soda handles faster and cheaper than anything on the shelf. Number 1. Powdery mildew. If baking soda were a superhero, powdery mildew would be the villain it was born to fight. You've seen this one, that ghostly white powdery dust that coats the leaves of squash, cucumbers, zucchini, roses, and lilacs, slowly choking the life out of them. It's the single most common plant disease in American backyards. Here's why baking soda crushes it. Fungal spores love acidic conditions, and they need that sweet spot to germinate and spread. When you spray a baking soda solution on the leaves, it raises the pH on the surface, creating an alkaline environment the fungus simply cannot survive in. Researchers at Cornell University found that a solution of about 1 tablespoon of baking soda per gallon of water, mixed with a few drops of dish soap and a tablespoon of horticultural or vegetable oil, dramatically suppressed powdery mildew. The oil and soap help it cling to the leaf, and the baking soda does the killing. Spray it early in the day so the leaves dry, and reapply every week or two, especially after rain. Used right, it works as both prevention and a cure for mild cases, something most store-bought chemical fungicides cannot even claim. Number 2. Aphids. Aphids are the tiny pear-shaped freeloaders that cluster on the undersides of leaves and the soft new growth of your roses, beans, and kale. They suck the sap right out of your plants, leaving them yellowed, curled, and sticky. Worse, they multiply at a terrifying rate. A single aphid can become thousands in a matter of weeks. A baking soda spray is a fantastic way to knock them back without dousing your vegetables in chemicals. The trick is to combine baking soda with a little liquid soap and a touch of oil in water, then spray directly onto the colonies. The soap and oil coat and smother the soft-bodied aphids, while the alkaline baking soda environment makes the leaf surface inhospitable for them and for the fungus that often tags along with aphid infestations. Hit the undersides of the leaves where they hide and repeat every few days until they're gone. Because the ingredients are so gentle, you can use this right up until harvest. No waiting period, no warning labels, no worrying about what you're about to eat. Number 3. Black spot on roses. Ask any rose grower what keeps them up at night, and a lot of them will say black spot. It shows up as dark, ringed blotches on the leaves, which then turn yellow and drop, leaving you with a sad half-bald rose bush by midsummer. It is a fungus. It spreads fast in humid weather, and the commercial sprays for it are expensive and harsh. This is another fungal disease where baking soda genuinely shines. The same surface alkalinity trick that stops powdery mildew works on black spot. In fact, research going back decades found that roughly a 0.5% baking soda solution was effective at preventing black spot on roses specifically. The key word is preventing. Start spraying early in the season before you see major damage. Coat the leaves thoroughly, including the undersides, and reapply after rain. Add that little bit of oil to help it stick. Your roses will hold onto their leaves, and you will have spent pennies instead of refilling an expensive bottle all summer long. Number 4, cabbage worms. If you grow broccoli, cabbage, kale, or cauliflower, you know the heartbreak of pulling back a leaf to find it riddled with holes and crawling with fat little green caterpillars. Cabbage worms, the larvae of those pretty white butterflies fluttering around your garden, can shred a brassica patch in days. Gardeners have long used a simple baking soda and flour dusting to deal with them. The classic approach is to mix equal parts baking soda and flour, then lightly dust it over the leaves of your cabbage family plants while they are slightly damp with morning dew. The caterpillars ingest it as they chew, and the baking soda disrupts their digestion. A word of common sense here: dust lightly and aim for the plants the worms are actually eating, not the whole garden. You do not want to coat the beneficial insects too. Reapply after rain or heavy watering. It is a cheap, low-effort way to protect your harvest without reaching for a chemical you would rather not have anywhere near your dinner. Number 5, slugs and snails. Slugs and snails are the nighttime raiders of the garden world. They glide out after dark, chew ragged holes in your seedlings, hostas, and leafy greens, and leave those telltale shiny slime trails as their calling card. By the time you see the damage in the morning, they are long gone, hiding in the cool, damp shade. Baking soda is a soft-bodied creature's worst enemy. Because slugs and snails have no protective shell over most of their body, the alkaline, drying nature of baking soda is harsh on contact. It pulls moisture from their skin, which they absolutely depend on to survive. A light sprinkle of baking soda directly on a slug will do it in, and a thin barrier line around vulnerable plants helps keep them from crossing. The catch is that baking soda dissolves and loses its punch when it gets wet, so you will need to reapply after watering or rain. Use it in the evening when the slugs come out to feed, and keep it close to the plants you are protecting rather than scattered everywhere. Number 6, ants. A few ants in the garden aren't the end of the world, but when they start farming aphids for honeydew, building mounds in your raised beds, or marching into the house, it's time to act. The good news is that ants have a very specific weakness baking soda can exploit. The method gardeners swear by is a simple bait. Mix baking soda with an equal amount of powdered sugar. The sugar lures the ants in and they carry it back to the colony. Once it is ingested, the baking soda reacts with the acids in their digestive system, which they cannot tolerate. Set little piles of the mixture along their trails and near the entrances to their nests. Plain baking soda sprinkled across their trails also helps in a different way. It disrupts the invisible scent paths ants lay down to navigate, leaving the colony confused and unable to find your plants. It's a 1-2 punch that costs almost nothing and avoids the toxic ant poisons you would otherwise have to keep away from pets and kids. Number 7, spider mites. Spider mites are so small you might not even see them until the damage is done. Fine webbing on the undersides of leaves and a stippled, speckled, dusty look to the foliage. They thrive in hot, dry conditions and reproduce explosively, and they can take down tomatoes, beans, and houseplants in a hurry. A baking soda spray with a little soap and oil is a smart, gentle way to fight back. The soap and oil smother the mites and their eggs, which is the part that physically kills them, while the baking soda discourages the fungal issues that often pile on when a plant is already stressed. Because spider mites love dryness, the moisture from regular spraying works against them all on its own. Spray thoroughly, focusing on the undersides of the leaves where mites and their webs live, and repeat every few days to catch newly hatched mites. Knocking the population down before it explodes is the whole game with mites, and this costs you a fraction of what a dedicated miticide would. Number 8. Early blight and leaf spot. Tomato growers, this one is for you. Early blight starts as dark bullseye ringed spots on the lower leaves and creeps upward, yellowing and killing foliage until your plant is struggling to ripen its fruit. Various leaf spot diseases do the same thing to peppers, potatoes, and ornamentals. These are fungal problems, and once again, that is baking soda's home turf. Spraying a baking soda solution on your tomato plants raises the surface pH and makes it much harder for these fungal spores to take hold and spread. As with the other diseases on this list, the magic word is early. This is a preventative tool. Start spraying when the conditions turn warm and humid before the disease has a real foothold, and keep the lower leaves coated, since that is where blight usually begins. Mulch around the base of your tomatoes too, so rain does not splash fungal spores up from the soil onto the leaves. Pair that with a regular baking soda spray, and you will keep your plants green and productive far longer than they would last on their own. Number 9. Cutworms. Few things are more demoralizing than walking out in the morning to find a healthy young seedling snipped clean off at the soil line, lying there like a tiny felled tree. That's the work of cutworms, fat, curled-up caterpillars that hide in the top layer of soil and feast at night on the tender stems of your transplants. Sprinkling baking soda directly onto the soil around the base of your seedlings helps deter and damage these soil-dwelling pests. The alkaline drying powder is irritating to their soft bodies as they move through it to reach your plants, and it discourages them from setting up shop right at the stem line where they do the most harm. For young transplants, you can pair the baking soda with a simple physical collar, even a cardboard tube around the stem, for double protection during those first vulnerable weeks. Reapply the baking soda after watering, and once your plants toughen up and establish strong stems, the cutworms lose interest anyway. Number 10. Rust. If you have ever flipped over a leaf and found little orange, rusty-looking pustules dusting the surface, you have met rust, yet another fungal disease that attacks everything from beans and hollyhocks to roses and lawns. It weakens plants, makes them look terrible, and spreads on the wind to infect everything nearby. By now, you can probably guess why baking soda works. Rust is a fungus, and baking soda's surface alkalinity makes it tough for the spores to germinate and spread. A weekly baking soda spray using the same recipe of baking soda, a few drops of soap, and a little oil per gallon of water keeps the leaf surface in a state the fungus hates. Catch it early, remove and throw away any badly infected leaves. Do not compost them or you will just spread the spores. Keep the rest of the plant sprayed. Good airflow helps too, so do not crowd your plants. Between the spray and a little garden hygiene, you will keep rust from turning into a full-blown outbreak. Number 11. Fungus gnats. If you've got houseplants or start seeds indoors, you've almost certainly battled fungus gnats, those annoying little black flies that hover around the soil and dart at your face. The adults are mostly a nuisance, but their larvae live in damp soil and feed on roots, which can stunt or kill seedlings and tender plants. The larvae thrive in the fungus and algae that grow in constantly wet potting soil, and baking soda helps on two fronts. A light dusting or a diluted baking soda drench on the top layer of soil shifts the pH and knocks back the fungal growth those larvae depend on for food. Take away their food source and the population crashes. The other half of the fix is simply letting the top inch or two of soil dry out between waterings, because overwatering is what invites fungus gnats in the first place. Combine drier soil with the baking soda treatment, and you'll break the cycle without filling your home with bug spray. Number 12. Downy mildew and anthracnose. Powdery mildew gets all the attention, but its cousins downy mildew and anthracnose cause just as much grief. They show up as yellow patches and fuzzy growth on the undersides of leaves, or as sunken dark lesions on stems and fruit. They hit grapes, cucumbers, melons, beans, and shade trees, and they spread fast in wet, humid weather. These are surface fungal diseases, which means baking soda's contact action is well suited to fighting them. Spraying the alkaline solution onto the leaves creates conditions that suppress the spores before they can dig in. Because baking soda is a contact treatment that does not move inside the plant, thorough coverage matters. Get the tops and undersides of the leaves and reapply on a regular schedule, particularly after rain washes it off. Like everything fungal on this list, prevention beats cure. If your garden has a history of these diseases, start spraying before the humid stretch of summer hits rather than waiting for the first spots to appear. A little consistency goes a long way. Number 13. Crabgrass and sidewalk weeds. Weeds might not crawl or fly, but make no mistake, they are pests, and the ones muscling up through the cracks in your driveway, walkway, and patio are some of the most stubborn. Crabgrass and other weeds wedged into pavement are a pain to pull and laughably expensive to treat with commercial weed killers. Baking soda is a salt, and in concentrated doses, salt is brutal on plants. Sprinkle baking soda generously into the cracks where weeds are growing, right onto the foliage and crowns, and it draws moisture out of the plant tissue and disrupts it, browning and killing the weed over the following days. For tough customers, wet the weeds first so the powder sticks, then pile it on. One important caution, and it is the same reason baking soda is so effective. Because it is a salt, you only want to use this where you do not want anything to grow. Use it in driveways, walkways, and patio cracks. Keep it away from your garden beds and lawn, where that same salt would harm the plants you are trying to protect. Number 14. Cockroaches and silverfish. The edges of the garden, the shed, the garage, the wood pile, the damp corners where pots are stored are prime real estate for cockroaches and silverfish. They breed in the damp and the dark, and they will happily move from your shed into your house if given the chance. Baking soda is a time-tested, low-toxicity way to deal with both. For roaches, the classic bait is baking soda mixed with a little sugar, set out in shallow lids near their hideouts. The sugar draws them in, and once they ingest the baking soda, it reacts with the acid and gas in their gut. For silverfish, a light dusting of baking soda in the cracks and corners where they travel makes the area inhospitable and helps dry out these moisture-loving insects. Pair it with the obvious fix, reducing dampness and clearing out clutter where they hide, and you have a safe, cheap defense for the parts of your property where you would never want to spray a heavy pesticide near where you work. Number 15, lawn fungus and brown patch. Finally, let's talk about your lawn. Those ugly spreading circles of dead brown, matted grass like brown patch, dollar spot, and similar lawn diseases are fungal infections, and they can turn a beautiful yard into a patchwork of dead spots over a humid week or two. Because these are fungal problems, the same principle applies. A diluted baking soda solution sprayed onto the affected patches and their edges raises the surface pH and helps slow the spread of the fungus across your turf. Treat the spots as soon as you notice them before the circles grow and merge. Here's the most important common sense rule for the whole lawn though, and it ties back to everything we've covered. Baking soda is a salt and your grass is a plant, so you must use a light diluted hand and never dump it dry across the lawn. Treat the trouble spots, water normally to keep the soil from building up sodium, and fix the underlying causes, overwatering and poor airflow that let the fungus move in to begin with. A few honest rules before you start. Because we always shoot straight on this channel, here is the fine print that the clickbait videos skip. Baking soda is a salt, and too much of it will harm your plants and build up in your soil, so more is not better. Stick to the light, diluted amounts we mentioned. Always test to spray on a few leaves first, and check back after a day before treating the whole plant. Spray in the morning or evening, never in the blazing midday sun, which can scorch wet leaves. And remember that for fungal diseases, baking soda works best as a preventative. You apply regularly, not a last-minute rescue. Use it that way, and one cheap little box from your pantry will quietly outwork a shelf full of expensive sprays, saving you money every single season. So the next time you are about to drive to the store and drop $20 on yet another bottle of garden chemicals, stop and check your kitchen cabinet first. Odds are the fix is already sitting right there. If a tip like this just saved you a trip to the store and a few dollars, do us a quick favor and tap that like button. It genuinely helps more people find these money-saving ideas. And if stretching your dollar and getting more out of the everyday stuff you already own sounds like your kind of thing, hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because we share new tips like this all the time. Your garden and your wallet will thank you. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.